What is up, everybody? This keeps doing this every week. I apologize. Give me a second, even though I already checked this. Where are we? Um, hmm. I don't know why I keep having this issue with this. I'm not totally sure what's going on. So I guess you guys can just see the whole screen. It is what it is. Anyway, guys, you know I start this show off by showing love to those companies who help make this podcast possible. I apologize for the screen delays, but most of this happens on audio anyway. First and foremost, guys, is my friends over at COMPANYCAM. They have been with me for several years now. I love this company, and I love that they keep growing. I love their leadership, just everything about what they do. This is an add-on to most of the CRMs that are out there. So whether you have HOUSECALL Pro, Service Titan, a bunch of the other ones, COMPANYCAM is an add-on. So when it comes to the little things, most of these softwares, they do a bunch of stuff, but they're trying to do a bunch of things that they're not good at. COMPANYCAM does what they do, and they're good at that, which is going to be capturing every aspect of the job with unlimited cloud storage, giving you photo reports, video capture, photo annotations, being able you can mark the photo to be able to show a customer before and after where something's getting moved. Hey, I'm going to move this outdoor unit. So it sits here. We're going to take it over here. However you want to do it. Offline mode. That is huge nowadays. We get in these areas where we don't have service. And you still have to, serve your customer. You can't just stop. So it has offline modes where you can do whatever you have to do. Once you get into a service area that has cell reception, it will just automatically link up and do all that. Document scanning, report templates, and a global search. This is going to help you when it comes to organization, photo tags, project labels, project contacts, document storage, integrations, project map, metadata stamps, and a Chrome extension. And then last but not least is going to be for your accountability. You can have comments on it, signatures, mentions, project timeline, assign users, full team access for the whole team, and user permissions. Obviously, if you want a business, you don't want like your low-level employees, having full access to be able to do stuff. COMPANYCAM is a huge add-on for any business out there. I highly recommend it. I have used it. Obviously, I'm not running a business right now, but if I was, I would be pushing for this. I would have this 100%. And if you want to do it for being a part of the HVAC Uncensored Nation family, if you go to www.companycam.com/HVAC Uncensored, they will give you a free 14-day trial to try it out. And then if you like it after that, they will give you 50% off your first 2 months. Yeah, Blue On's got to get off there, Jay. Next, but not least, is going to be my friends over at VETO. Guys, a lot of people can debate a lot of things when it comes to VETO, but the fact that they are the best tool bag in the business is not really debatable. I would love for somebody to tell me a better bag than VETO. People can say, oh, I found a cheaper one, and I get it. Yeah, you get what you pay for. These are not the cheapest bags. They're just not. But they are some of the best quality. They have a fit and finish, a color sequence, different packs, however you want to do it. They have something for everyone. You want a book bag? They got book bags. You want something on wheels? They got something on wheels. You want a smaller bag, a bigger bag, a wider bag, a cooler, you name it. VETO has it. And you cannot beat that 5-year zero downtime warranty. So to me, it is worth the investment. I get it. This is why I like to try to give them away as much as possible, because I get it that a lot of people cannot afford these, but it's worth the investment. If you're new, you're new in the trade and you're trying to build up your arsenal. Okay, maybe VETO shouldn't be your first tool bag. But if you've been in the trade for a few years and you're investing in yourself, investing in your craft, VETO is where it's at. If you ever need any recommendations or anything like that, please feel free to reach out to me. You can still use the HVAC Uncensored at gmail.com, or now the new email is going to be info@hvacuncensored.com. And myself or somebody else that I have here that helps will be more than happy to answer the question and point you in the right direction. All right. Yeah, that's it. So remember, since 2002, the market leader and innovator, my friends over at VETO. Last but not least, guys, real fast, and I have to keep doing this. And I know some people are like, oh man, they're expensive. I get it, man. I'm getting you guys 10% off with my discount code. It's in the top of the chat. You guys can click on it. That's a direct link. These socks are freaking awesome, people. That's all I have to say. I love these socks. They are amazing. I tell all of you, every single one of you is always boots, boots, boots. Got to have a nice pair of boots, which I agree. In the field, you're on your feet all day. You got to have a nice pair of boots, but you got to have nice socks, man. These things, you come home, your feet does not smell like Bigfoot's butt crack. We know what it is, man. You're working out in 100-degree weather. You've been sweating in those boots all day. You take them things off and it smells rancid. Been there, done that. Okay. These help it. I was out there training. Mr. Zeke is in here. I've been out there training in 100+ degree weather out in the field all day wearing these socks, testing them. And I come home and my feet are dry. And to me, that is huge. I want to thank you to everybody that has bought them. Just so you know, this is not like a normal sponsorship. I only get a little kickback if you guys buy something. And I wanted you guys to have the discount code more than the sponsorship. And it's been amazing. Let's just say you guys have been buying these socks in droves. So I want to thank every single one of you that has went out and bought these socks. So remember, go to camelcitymill.com. The link is going to be in the description. You can click on it. Use the discount code uncensored10 to save 10% on your order. All right. And some people were asking me, they do have the low cut sock now, which should be, you guys probably can't see the screen, but they have different ones and they are worth the money. All right. With that being said, let's do the pledge and get on to this amazing show that I have for you tonight. Let's go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States. And thank you to all those men and women who defend it. All right.
Welcome to the #1 rated HVAC podcast. If you're looking to grow in the HVAC industry, then you're in the right spot. Blue collar people talking about blue collar shit. Let's get better together. So turn up the volume, buckle your seatbelt, and let's welcome your host, Gil KV Jr.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. I am your host, Gil KV Jr. Here we are, another Wednesday, another hump night, and another amazing show for you guys. Thank you to everybody that's already here in the chat, showing off my magnificent bald head today. Sorry, the studio's in the basement, and it was just too long of a walk to go up to grab a hat. So showing you guys off the chrome dome. Exactly. Showing you off the bald head tonight. So enjoy it. Don't get used to it, though. But thank you to my moderators that are in here real fast. Mr. Rookie, what's up, my brother? Mr. Zeke Warner. If you guys don't know, Zeke Warner is the company that I've been coaching at. So I appreciate that amazing opportunity that Zeke has given me. It's been an absolute joy. I've loved every minute of it. It stinks it's coming to an end, but I have thoroughly enjoyed every single minute of it. So thank you for that, brother. I appreciate you. Mr. Jason Johnson. And what is up, my brother? And I think that's all of my moderators that are in here as of right now. So everybody that's here, so I don't miss you. Mr. Nasty, what is up, my man? Miss Liliana, how are you? Thank you for being here. And Sammy, what's up, Sammy? How you doing, buddy? Mr. C. Young, what's up, brother? Mr. Blogger, what's up, buddy? How you doing, bro? And I think that is everybody. So anyway, I have a great show for you tonight. This is another one that's going to be more on the business side. I really appreciate this guest rebooking the last time that I lost power, one of the many times that I've lost power. This was the guest that was supposed to be there that night, and I feel horrible that I waited. I try to wait because I don't want the show. I want the show to be able to happen. So I really appreciate this guest for rebooking and coming back on. But with that being said, a little bit that I want to let you guys know. So, guys, I'm talking to Mr. Luke Boyenger, who is the CEO of Cruzumi. So, from witnessing the painful closure of a family business during his high school years, he was driven, a master the art of successful business management. This early experience ignited a lifelong passion for business finance and led him to pursue a degree in accounting, secure a CPA license, and gain invaluable insights from global leaders during his tenure as an auditor at EY. In his roles as an auditor and data analytics coach, a director of accounting, and cultivated a robust knowledge base and a versatile skill set that bridged the crucial gap of understanding effective business operations. His diverse experience has equipped him with the tools to provide strategic oversight and actionable advice to business owners striving to avoid the pitfalls that once impacted his family. He is dedicated to empowering small business owners to unlock their company's full potential by evaluating and enhancing business models to align with strategic visions, implementing robust financial review processes to ensure month-to-month accountability, coaching on the establishment and pursuit of strategic and long-term goals, providing expert advice on profit maximization, cash flow management, and sustainable growth. And as your fractional CFO, he is eager to apply his experience to help your business thrive. So I'm really excited about this. As somebody who's ran a business, this is a huge topic, and this can help everybody. So without further ado, please help me put your hands together for Mr. Luke Boyenger.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you having me on the show today.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for being here, Luke. And I know we talked about it off air and I just said it, but I respect people's time, and I really do want to thank you for being so cool about the having to reschedule and the fact that you booked again. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. Life happens, man. You just got to be flexible and roll with the punches.
Yeah. No, I appreciate it. You'd be surprised. Some people aren't like that, but so I appreciate it when people are like that. But yeah, I guess let us know. I know I just read that off, but I guess before we get into the meat and the potatoes, let everybody know a little bit about you and what Cruzumi is.
Yeah, happy to. So, as kind of was alluded to in my bio, I've been through the experience of seeing a small family business go bankrupt. That happened to my parents when I was just out of high school. They ran a small machine shop that went bankrupt during the 2007-2008 financial crisis. And I knew just enough at that point in life to understand that if anybody in my family had known more about accounting and finance, we probably would have been able to survive, because lots of other businesses did not go bankrupt during the financial crisis. So clearly there's something they're doing that we weren't. And that's really what propelled me into a career in finance and accounting. I wanted to go out and learn what's the right way to run a business so that you can grow and thrive and weather one of the most difficult economic times that we've seen in decades. And so I kind of went on this journey to develop that skill set and that expertise. And now I'm on a mission to take that skill set and use it to help smaller business owners like my parents had been to grow and thrive and future-proof their businesses. I spent a lot of time working with Fortune 500 companies. I got to tell you, turning billion-dollar companies into $2 billion companies is just not that motivating, and it's just not that much fun either. I want to take what I know and I want to use it to help the small businesses that really run this country.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. And I love that story. It's kind of like, when you hear a child where it's like, I don't know, I lost a dog, and this is probably a horrible thing. Something happened with a fire, so they grew up wanting to be a fireman or something like that.
Sure.
So I think that's cool that you have that personal motivation. I'll ask you this: with what you know now, do you know with 100% certainty that you could have saved your parents' business?
Yes,
go back in time. That's awesome.
Yes, without question.
Yeah. So that's cool that it it drove you to be there, because as somebody who's ran, some multi-million dollar companies, and especially when you see like on Facebook and these different places, social media, and I've said this numerous times, is people always, oh, we're a $20 million company. Okay, well, how much profit do you make? Okay. That top number doesn't mean anything. It's the bottom number that how much you're getting to keep. I always tell people that I rather be a $5 million company with a 25%, net profit than be a $10 million company with a 5%. It just doesn't, it doesn't make sense. And I think these topics are good, especially for the smaller companies, because let's be honest, especially in our field, or even some of the other ones you deal with. I mean, I saw that you deal with all the different trades, correct? I mean, you're dealing with, so it says concrete, construction, roofing, plumbers, electrician, HVAC. So pretty much the trades in generals, right?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. A lot of them get started from a guy or a girl doing side work, and then they start a business, meaning they're very good at their said trade. They don't know ding dong about business. Which is why I tell people you have to be prepared, get an accountant, set yourself up for success, and profitability is going to be a huge part of that. So I guess before we get into exactly what you do, I'm curious to your piece of advice, those people that are starting, what would be your advice to them? Somebody who knows this way better than I do.
Yeah, what you just said is spot on, to be completely honest. If you've got to focus on the business side of the house, being good at your skill isn't good enough, because you can be the best HVAC person in your zip code, but if you lose money on all your jobs, you're not going to be in business for very long. So you've got to have the skill set to do excellent work, but you've also got to have the business performance and acumen to be able to make sure you're running a profitable company that can continue to grow and scale. Unfortunately, a lot of people will take the advice you just gave of go get an accountant, make sure you know your numbers, and run a profitable business. And they go out and they convince their nephew to do their bookkeeping for $12 an hour and say, okay, I have an accountant, now I'm good. It's like, well, no, you hired your nephew who doesn't know anything about accounting. And all they're doing is clicking buttons in QuickBooks and watching YouTube videos trying to figure out how to do it. When people say get an accountant, make sure you know your numbers and understand the business side of what you're doing, it's really important to go out and get a seasoned veteran professional who really understands accounting and finance and can tell you how your business is performing, because they actually know what all those numbers mean.
Exactly. And you know your profit. Plus, it also helps you when it comes to tax time, because you do not want to be audited by the IRS. It's not fun. They will poke and prod into everything, and it's just not what you want. So please take that advice. You guys have heard me say it, a million times. Somebody, like Luke's what he does for a living. So please take that. I've seen too many guys in the first year. They've emailed me, Gil, I'm so busy. They're not charging right. And then at the end of the year, they look in the bank and they haven't made any money. Well, that's why they're not charging enough. They don't have an accountant. So I say this repeatedly time after time, because I don't want it to happen to you guys. So please listen to that. But with that being said, I guess give me an overview, so the audience and the listeners understand exactly what Cruzumi is. I know you says you're a CFO and advisory. Exactly what does that mean? What does that entail?
Yeah. So what we do is we're a fractional CFO firm. Fractional CFO is a term you may not be familiar with. It's relatively new in the market. All it means is you get to purchase as much CFO as you need. So instead of the only option being to go out and hire a full-time CFO that's going to cost you $250,000 a year, which most people can't afford, you have the option now to go out and buy a fraction of a CFO. Because you don't have 40 hours a week worth of CFO work that your business needs done anyways. You've got maybe 5 or 10 hours a week of CFO work that needs to be done. So you can go out and buy 5 or 10% of a CFO's time to come in and do the CFO things that you need for your business for literally 5 to 10% of the cost of a full-time CFO. So you can get that CFO skill set in your business much sooner than you used to be able to, because now you don't have to wait until you can afford a full-time CFO. As soon as you need a CFO, you go buy as much of one as you need, and that's what the fractional CFO model solves. And we're very much sitting in that CFO seat. We're not doing your taxes. We're not doing your bookkeeping. Those are different roles, different jobs. We are doing the CFO work, meaning we are doing your budgets, your forecasts, your projections, your cash flow forecasting, and acting as the strategic financial advisor to the business owner to build the financial plan to achieve the overarching goals that the owner wants to achieve with the business. Because most owners know that if they want to go from 5 million a year to 10 million a year, they can go out and tell you how they need to productize what they're doing and what packages they need to go out and put in the marketplace and sell, and the team that they need to hire to be able to deliver that number of service. But they can't really tell you how to fund that growth. That's a completely different skill set. And that's what we do. We help on that financial strategy side of the house, building the plan to get where you want to go.
I love that, Luke. That is not what I thought you guys actually did, but I love that business model because I talk to people all the time. It's great when I see people, when I've been in several companies and I go help friends or help people, and I see them trying to do the right things. I see them having meetings and talking about stuff. But when I see somebody, they're like, hey, we're at 1 million, but we want to be 4 million. Okay, that sounds great, but how? How are you going to reverse engineer that to be able to get to it? Otherwise, you're just throwing shit at the wall and see what sticks. It sounds good to say that, but if you don't have a plan together, you're kind of setting an unrealistic goal that you're never going to meet. And I feel like people do that and then wonder why they don't grow.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And here, I'll give you an illustration that will resonate with your audience. I bought an Ecobee smart home thermostat and convinced myself, how hard can it really be to install a thermostat, right? Well, I installed the thing. I mounted it to the wall. I hooked up all the wires. I went up in the attic and connected all the wires and the furnace and everything you're supposed to do. I did the job, but it didn't work because I didn't do it right, because I didn't know what I was doing. So it was installed, but it wasn't installed correctly, so it didn't work correctly. And people in the trades tend to do the same thing on the finance side of the house. They're looking at the numbers every month. They're trying to do the right thing. They're trying to make decisions about how to grow the business and how to be profitable and how to better manage cash flow, but they don't know what they're looking at. So they're looking at accounting that's wrong because they don't know it's wrong, and trying to make decisions using bad accounting data that's pointing them in the wrong direction because the accounting isn't telling them the truth because it's not right. And there isn't anyone in the business who has the skill set to be able to recognize that the accounting isn't right, so it can be fixed and that we can now go make decisions using good data. Similar to how I didn't have the skill set to recognize that my thermostat wasn't wired correctly, other than the fact that thermostat wasn't working. Well, if your business isn't growing the way you feel like it should be, doing what you're doing now, it's kind of the same thing. You probably just don't know what you're looking at when you're looking at the numbers, and you just need to get the right skill set in the business.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. And like I told you, my story is I came up as a tech and I went into management because I thought that was the next role. So I had to learn the business side. I had to dig in the books, take business classes, learn how to read a balance sheet and a P&L. And once you know how to read that, I tell people, I can look at those numbers and I can tell if we're paying too much for supplies, if somebody's stealing from me, if my payroll's too high. I mean, you can literally look at those numbers and they will speak to you when you know what you're looking at. But at first, I would look at that and be like, all right, cool. Yeah, looks, it might as well be a Chinese manual because, I didn't know. And it's something you definitely have to educate yourself. And not to go off topic, this is why it's so important to, if you can't afford to hire somebody like Luke, or even when it comes to an accountant, is because hire someone to do what they're good at. If you don't like that, why force yourself to do it? I get it in the beginning. Money's tight. You have to try to get through things. I get that. But once you can, that's what you need to do. And talk to people that have been where you want to be. Okay. That's how you're going to grow. If I'm a $5 million company and I want to get to 10, well, I'm going to talk to people that are at 10, 15, 20 and find out what they did. I'm not going to talk to other $5 million business owners or somebody that's at 2. They may be great people, but they haven't done what I'm trying to do. So that doesn't make sense. So what what is the normal size of the kind of companies that you're working with? And I guess how little and how much are you doing for some of those?
Yeah, we worked with companies as small as a couple of million a year in revenue. I would say what we do probably works best for companies that are doing at least 5 million a year in revenue, simply because at that level, there are more levers that we can pull in the business to help you make progress. And pulling those levers tends to have a more dramatic impact just because of size and scale. So it's best fit for companies doing at least 5 million a year in revenue.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, no, that makes sense, because I figure companies under that probably wouldn't have a CFO anyway, and accountant's probably going to be okay. So say somebody does 3 million and they call you like, "Hey, Luke, I really need your services." Is it kind of like a case by case basis, or it's like, "Hey, I don't know if what I do is really going to help you"?
Yeah, I don't turn anybody away. If somebody wants my help and they understand what the value proposition is, how we work with our clients, how we deliver value, and what that value costs, and that aligns with them and it makes sense and that's what they want, we will absolutely work with those people. I just tend to find that it doesn't become a no-brainer until you hit 5 million in revenue. If you're at 5 million in revenue, you probably need a CFO skill set in your business across the board, period. Whether that's a fractional or someone full-time in the business, whatever you can afford and what makes sense for you. But at 5 million, you need that skill set. Anything below there, it's kind of more your judgment, your strategy. Where are you wanting to go and how quickly do you want to get there? If you're at 3 million a year in revenue and you want to get to 5 tomorrow, then you're probably making an upfront investment in that skill set to get you there quicker.
Yeah. Or if they're too small, then they're almost hiring you for coaching, not really, what they're wanting your advice more than your expertise as far as actually being a CFO. So that does make sense. So I'm curious can you give us an example of how, you help a business owner, like with cash flow and stuff like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we tend to find for the vast majority of our clients when they come on board is that there are hidden costs in the P&L that are not being recognized by the business owner because the accounting is not clean, it's not clear, it's not accurate, it's not timely. And we come in and we drive the progress in the accounting that delivers timely accounting that's clear and that's accurate and that's presented in a way that makes sense. It becomes really easy to see where all of the money is going every month. And in almost every single instance of a client that has come on board with us, we have been able to almost immediately identify areas of wasted spending where there are opportunities to cut fairly significant costs out of the business that are just unnecessary. And that has an immediate impact, not just on bottom line profitability, but on monthly cash flow. Because a lot of times we're talking about reoccurring expenses that are a burden on cash flow that we're able to identify and get those cleaned up. But we also have a broader range of experience where we can look and see, wow, you're just paying way too much for insurance compared to other companies your size, because we're looking at a lot of other companies. You may not have any idea that you're paying too much for insurance because all you know is what you pay. You don't know what's normal for your industry, but we do. So we can look and kind of right size some of your costs as well and refer you out to people in our network that we know are great insurance providers that can do a quote for you and potentially save you money on insurance. It's another way that we're able to deliver profitability improvements and cash flow improvements.
No, that's awesome. I love that. 2 questions I want to bring up when it comes to cash flow is, one, I found that what affects people's cash flow is, especially smaller companies, they have too many freaking people in the office. Their payroll is too high and, affecting their numbers. When I'll see a company that has, 1 install team, 4 service techs, but they have a general manager, an owner, an operations manager, a sales manager, an office manager. And I'm like, who the fuck are these people managing? Each other, you know? And I feel like, there's a time and a place. Just don't do it. Don't realize that you're killing yourself slowly. You know what I mean? The other thing is, and I could be wrong. So I was always taught, and I know that people always said, 10 to 15% net profit was always good. It is net profit. I'm saying that correct, aren't I?
Yeah.
Okay. And they say that if you're below 7, that you have no cash flow. But I feel like nowadays, in order to run a company that has the kind of culture and stuff that's going to bring the good people to you, that you got to be almost in the 20 plus to be able to put money, to have company fun days, to be able to have nice vans and put things back in the company. That bare minimum of 10% or whatever it is just not going to cut it nowadays.
Yeah. I mean, ideally you want to function at, if we're talking bare minimum, 20% gross margin, 10% net profit as just an absolute bare minimum. And you should probably really be targeting better than that, to your point. Like that would be bare minimum. Best in class would be more like 30% gross profit, 15 to 20% net profit. And you're right. What that does is it frees up profit from jobs to reinvest in some of the other things you want to do in the business from a team building perspective. Totally agree with that. And you're also right on the admin side of the house. A lot of times we come into a company and we draw the same conclusion that if you think about building a business in the context of building a house, a lot of houses have the foundation that is designed to support a one-story house. And a homeowner says, well, I want a bigger house. Okay, you've got two options. You've got to build additional foundation, or you've got to strengthen the existing foundation to add a second level. You can't just go add a second level on the existing foundation, and you can't go add house without building foundation first. But we tend to find that most companies have an admin foundation that is big enough to support a much larger company than what they currently are. And so the feedback in that scenario is you either go work like heck to become a company that's big enough to justify the administrative support base that you have in the business, or you've got to cut back the administrative base because you're spending too much money on more than what you need.
Yeah, no. Amen. And I see it, especially when I'll see small companies that, they've only been around for 2 years. It's a family company or something like that. Actually, I have friends of mine who own a plumbing HVAC company, and, all the families in the office, and I get that, but there's more family in the office than employees in the field. And I'm like, well, that's why you're not growing, guys.
Yeah.
So,
well, and that's one of the mistakes that my family made. Going back to your question, do I know what we did wrong? Yeah. My parents, bless their hearts, wanted to have a business that could provide for the whole family. So we had one outside employee, and then my dad worked full time in the business. I worked full time in the business. My older brother worked full time in the business. Not because we necessarily needed all those people, but because my dad had a dream of running a company that could provide for everyone in the family and we could all work together. But the reality was the business wasn't big enough to support that level of payroll, and we didn't have the revenue to need that many employees. And that was part of why we weren't profitable, as our payroll costs were too high for the level of revenue that we were generating. And I definitely see that in the trades where they want to be able to employ people that they care about, which is great. It's noble. I love that they want to do that. But let's go build the business that has the need, and then let's bring the family in.
Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, so I guess the other thing kind of with that question, so we've talked about cash flow. How are you helping these businesses improve like profitability?
Yeah, so that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about finding wasteful spending and eliminating it is a direct profitability improvement. Yes. But the biggest thing that we find is I'll come into a business and they'll say, man, we're doing a 30% gross margin. I don't understand why we aren't making more money. And we start digging into it, and we find out they're not actually making a 30% gross margin. Their accounting's just wrong. A lot of their cost of goods sold is sitting down in operating expenses. So it's making it look like they have a 30% margin, but you take all those expenses sitting in operating expenses that should be cost of goods sold, and you put them where they belong. All of a sudden you figure out that 30% gross margin you thought you had is 15%. Now you've got your 10% admin that's putting you down to a 5% net profit. That's why you're not making any money. So by showing them the truth about how their company is truly performing, by fixing the accounting and getting it right, now we can show them you have a pricing issue. You're not pricing your work correctly because you thought you were making money that you really weren't. Let's now look at the true cost of what we're doing and price to a 30% margin based on actual costs. We're going out and driving an immediate price increase in the business that is a straight bottom line profitability impact.
Yeah, I love that. I always say price to the company you want to be, not the company you are. Because if you don't, you're never going to get to that said, like a big thing for us is, in our trade is a capacitor. And especially technicians. Oh my God, I can't believe you're charging people $350 for that $20 part. I get it, but you also have to understand what it costs to run a business, to have that nice van, that nice uniform, that training, that paid vacation. If you guys knew how much paid holidays cost, okay, everybody is getting paid for that day when there's no income coming in. It hurts, but you do that because it's the right thing to do. So all of that stuff adds up. And the other thing that I've seen, some of these accountants, especially these little small services that are kind of aimed at the trades, they hide things in the P&L, like what you were just saying, to make it look like they're doing a good job, where really they're screwing you in the long run by hiding it. So you think, oh man, this is great. And then all of a sudden they don't hire them, or they have somebody like you come on and you're like, what the hell is this, man? Like this should be here, that should be there. Oh shit, you're actually not doing good.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And that's what we encounter a lot. And part of that problem is there is no minimum standard required to be able to market yourself as a bookkeeper. You can be a high school English teacher yesterday and a certified QuickBooks Pro advisor tomorrow, out there selling bookkeeping services to businesses when you've never done bookkeeping before in your life. And
some YouTube videos, and now they're a bookkeeper.
Yeah, 100%. If you're lucky, you got one who watched some YouTube videos. The rest of them are just out there guessing and hoping that their client doesn't know enough to realize they don't know what they're doing. And that goes back to making sure that you're hiring credentialed, seasoned, experienced veterans who really know what the heck they're doing.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. I guess without going into details, what would be one of the most common issues that you see with your clients? It's kind of like, oh, they're doing this too.
Yeah, gosh, there's so many. The most common ones are just having bad accounting because they don't want to make the financial investment to have good accounting, because there's just a lack of understanding that an investment in good accounting pays dividends. You will make more money because you invested in good accounting, guaranteed. You cannot run an effective business if you don't know how your business is actually performing. Because when you don't have that, what you end up doing is do what everybody else does. They look at how much money they have in the bank and they hope it's enough. And then they look at what all their competition is doing. They go monitor their competitors and see, well, what are they charging? Well, I guess if they're charging that, we need to be 1% lower so that we can beat them on price and get work. And you don't actually know if you're going to make any profit on being 1% lower than your competitor, because you're just guessing. You have to make the investment in good data and run your business based on your data, not your competitor's data. You've got to price yourself at a point where you make profit. And if that makes you more expensive than your competitor, so be it. Just go execute better than they do. Do higher quality work. Position yourself better in the marketplace so that people are willing to pay a premium to come have you do the work instead of your competitor. There are plenty of people out there who will pay a premium for quality work. You do not have to be the cheapest.
No, there's plenty of times that I won jobs being the most expensive guy. Just because of the education and the job that we did, that we said, hey, we're about quality, not quantity. So you know what I mean? So there is a way to do that. I've done it before for everybody watching or listening. The other, man, I had a brain fart of what I was just getting ready to ask. This is what I'm curious. So I know what I think. How often should an owner or a leadership team be looking at the P&L, in your opinion?
Every single month, within 30 days of the close of the previous month.
Okay. Because I used to want numbers, not necessarily the P&L, but I used to want the numbers on a weekly basis, only because I figured if I knew them, the more that I knew them, I could make fine-tune adjustments to try to change it. So that way it wasn't like, we didn't meet our goal, versus having my finger on the pulse kind of deal. I mean, does that make sense? Or
it does. The reason I say monthly is that a lot of your expenses in your business are monthly expenses. So if you've got 50% of your expenses that don't hit until the last week of the month, you could be reviewing your numbers for the first 3 weeks of the month and looking like you're killing it because the majority of your expenses haven't hit for that month yet. But if you're looking at 1 month at a time, you're seeing all the expenses for that month and getting a true picture of how you performed over that month and over the last, because you should be looking at not just that month, but the last 12 months, looking at trends. How's revenue trending? How are expenses trending? Where are the red flags? Is there anything that doesn't make sense? And that's hard to do weekly because you don't have that full month's data available.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. So I guess when I say that, I was more looking at revenue, but you really couldn't tie it in till you got to the end. So that does make, perfect sense.
Yeah. Now, something like accounts receivable, I would say go look at accounts receivable weekly for sure. Because the second somebody's past due on paying an invoice, I'd be calling them.
Yeah, no, you have to. That's why we always say we're a COD company. We, cash on demand. We don't want to get into that billing, especially when you're dealing with homeowners. I get it when you're dealing like in the commercial industrial space, you're doing the net 30, 60, 90 with some of these companies. But when it comes to residential, you don't want to be chasing people around because you won't get paid.
Agreed.
You can put liens on people's house and stuff like that, but it's a pain in the ass, and you don't want to get into that. So I guess something else that I'm kind of curious with is, man, I keep looking at these comments and they throw me off. Well, this is actually something that's good. I don't know if you would even get into this side. When you look at companies, do you have one you've seen that's worked well, whether somebody does flat rate pricing or time and material, or not really?
When it comes to that sort of thing, so that's a business model strategy question, which is definitely something we tackle. And if a client were to ask me that, I would tell them, I don't think it matters which one you do. You can be successful in either model as long as you understand what your cost is from a time and materials perspective so that you price accordingly and make profit. Same on flat rate. And I would probably gravitate towards flat rate because I like for the pressure to be on me. And if I'm at a flat rate, it's on me and my team to go execute effectively and efficiently to be profitable. And I want that pressure pushing me to be the best that we can be.
Yeah, no, I love that. I have always liked flat rate as well, especially in the residential market, which is what I was in last. Is you tell a customer up front, hey, it costs $350. So that's whether it takes me 2 hours or 4 hours. Obviously, we have a billable hour built into that, but you price that normally the average person is going to be under. There might be that one guy that goes over and the customer makes out, but normally you're winning in the long run. And the customer, when you say time and material, the customer is not watching you outside while you're, taking a break for a second, just trying to catch your breath. And it's like, oh, are you going to be done soon? You've been out here for 2 hours. So that's why I've always loved it, especially in the economy that we're in now. I'm curious to lately, what are some of the, I guess, hiccups or something that you've seen businesses have to deal with inflation and what's going on now? Have you seen any issues like that, or has it really not, besides costs going up, you haven't really seen any difference?
Yeah, not so much with inflation. I think for the most part, people have just kind of passed the price on to the customer. If their costs went up, then their charges went up. It just has to. And there's not a lot of pushback on that because everybody understands that's what's happening. Everything's getting more expensive. So if you're more expensive than you used to be, people know why. Everybody knows about inflation right now. So they're not getting a lot of pushback on it. Maybe where there's problems is in the businesses that haven't done that, where they've kept their prices the same and they've just been absorbing the cost increase. Now they're not making any money. That's a problem. That's inflation attributed. And you just need to go fix your pricing to adjust to the new normal like everybody else has done. So that's an easy problem to solve. I think probably the bigger issue that I've seen is we're starting to get to that point where COVID took a toll on a lot of businesses from a profitability standpoint. And a lot of companies had to go out and use a lot of debt to get themselves through for 6, 12, 18, 24 months sometimes, depending on the business. And they're getting to the point now where that debt is starting to be a burden on the business, and they're not sure how to get out from under it because they're losing too much cash flow to debt payments, and it's causing issues in running the business. That's probably the bigger issue that I see right now is we had to take debt to stay alive during COVID, but now we're not sure how to get from under the foot of the debt that's crushing us. That's the biggest issue I see.
Yeah, no, I love that because during COVID, everybody went out and got that bailout money, but now it's time to pay it back. And some of those payments, I know the company I just came from, we were paying $8,000 a month just paying back the loan, Granted, we used it wise and it didn't hurt us, but that's something that you have to plan for. That wasn't free money like everything else. Yeah. You gotta pay that back. And the other thing that I find, and to touch back, this is what I forgot earlier when you were talking about, people pricing based off of their competitor. And I always say everybody has to figure out what their loaded labor rate is. And people will reach out to me and be like, "Oh, well, what's yours?" Okay, well, what mine has nothing to do with you. We need to figure out what you need to keep your doors open, on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, and then backtrack that to figure out what you need to make per hour in order to keep the doors open. And that's how you're going to price things. It's not some just magic number that you throw out. And I think people use too many generic things, generic price books. And it goes into what market you're in, where, your location, like all that stuff comes into play. And I feel like people don't realize that.
Yeah, 100%. And I'd add reputation to that list as well. Whereas if you're pricing based on somebody else, but you've got a killer reputation in the market, you're probably leaving a crap ton of money on the table by pricing yourself with your competitors when you have the ability to command a premium.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And image is everything, especially now, online presence. All that kind of stuff. Yeah, no, that is crazy. Sorry, I thought a question was coming up. So besides some of the things that we didn't say, what are some other things that maybe that I have been horrible as far as asking that you guys provide to the customer that I don't want to leave out?
That's really kind of the gist of it. We're doing the financial analysis, the budgeting, the projections, the forecast, all that stuff that we talked about. But I guess what I'd maybe want to clarify is we're not putting together a bunch of charts and graphs and throwing them at business owners and saying, "Here you go, let us know if you have any questions." We are sitting down and doing strategic planning meetings every single month with our clients where we are walking them through the numbers, the charts, the graphs, and explaining to them in detail what it means in light of the goals that they tell us they have for their business. And we're talking strategically about what the numbers are telling them they need to go do as a result if they're serious about achieving the goals that they've said they have for the business. We're talking strategy. We're talking plan of action. We're giving you steps that you need to take to achieve the progress and results that you want to see. It's very proactive. We're not just number crunchers throwing charts and graphs and slapping you on the butt and wishing you the best.
Yeah, no, I love that because sadly, there's too many of those kind of companies out there. Sadly, I've had a couple on the show and it didn't go very well because I'm HVAC Uncensored for a reason. But I guess my scatterbrain tonight. I guess the other thing that I was kind of curious is based on location, like, some markets like Texas, Southern California, when they have 8-9 month long summers, I've seen some companies, I hate to say it, they've gotten lucky to get to 5, 6, 7 million. And it was by accident, but that's why they can't grow. But I guess I was kind of thinking like most, at least companies around here, like you're not getting to 5 million by accident. Not in Maryland's market. We have 3 months of summer that, those 3 months are going to determine whether you end the year in the green or the red. It's that important, sadly. Have you seen some of those situations where a company had like decent revenue, but it was out of sheer luck because when you first started working with them, they didn't understand their numbers?
Yeah, to some extent. I don't know if I'd necessarily use the word luck because it's so hard to be successful in business that if you succeeded, you did something right. But yeah, could they put their finger on exactly why they were able to be as successful as they were? Probably not, because they don't have the financial clarity to be able to really break it down for you. But what I find is it's usually just because the quality of work they do is so darn good that nobody ever says anything bad about them. They've got 100 past clients out there that are raving about how great their service was, how professional they were, how fair their pricing was, that they're not even having to go out and spend a lot of money on advertising because they're getting so many word of mouth referrals that they didn't necessarily, I hate to say this, they didn't necessarily need to know exactly how their business was performing from a numbers perspective because they were able to charge enough that it didn't matter. They were going to make money. Now, with that said, knowing your numbers means you don't leave any of that money on the table, that you're maximizing your profitability, on that stuff. So I'd still absolutely advocate for having someone in the business who can help you on the numbers side of the house. But you can definitely have yourself priced at a point that even if you're kind of screwing up, you're still going to succeed.
No, that makes sense. And I probably shouldn't have used the word luck, but because it is hard to be in business. And I always say this, for every 5 businesses that open, 1 of them stayed, 4 of them closed. So if your doors are open, then touche. It's not easy being a business owner. If it was easy, everybody would do it. And that's why everybody doesn't. I guess another quick question, and real fast, anybody in the comments, if you have any questions for Luke before we start to close this out, please put it in all caps and I'll be sure to ask them before we close this out. At what revenue point, in your opinion, should somebody hire an in-house CFO, like a roundabout number?
An in-house CFO, like full-time? I don't know that I would make it number based, honestly. I think it's more strategy based. It's the point at which you have 40 hours a week worth of CFO work that needs to be done. So, more CFO work than can be done by a fractional. So we're talking about businesses that their strategic growth strategy is acquisition. They want to go out and acquire 4 or 5 different HVAC companies across the nation every year to grow their footprint inorganically through acquisition. If that's your plan and you're only at 20 million a year in revenue, you probably need a full-time CFO because that's a lot of finance work that's going to have to happen on the back end. And you're going to need that full-time skill set in-house to be able to navigate that type of growth. Whereas if you're a $20 million company that's just growing organically 10% year over year, by doing what you do and hiring crews and just growing the organic way, then at 20 million, you probably have absolutely no need for a full-time CFO. A fractional easily meets your needs. So I think it probably comes more down to strategy and what you're doing as a company than it does what your revenue point is.
Yeah, I love that. I just, learned something there because I love, a lot of people think of a CFO and they think of accounting when actually your CFO and accounting is kind of 2 separate things. Maybe the accounting person, their boss is the CFO, but that a lot of that. So we do have a few questions, but quickly, I guess some of the job titles of what a CFO actually does, if you wouldn't mind throwing those out there so people understand exactly what the role of CFO does. I know you've said some, so we're kind of being redundant, but.
Yeah, here, let me give you this. So accountant will usually do things like the bookkeeping, the account reconciliations, paying the bills, moving money, that kind of transactional type of stuff is usually what's kind of considered accounting. CFO or finance is another word that we use for the finance function of the business that the CFO usually heads. They take accounting data and do analysis with it to get strategic about what we're doing in the business. So accountants, rear view mirror, what's already happened in the business and how do we account for it? Finance, CFO, windshield, what's coming down the road in the next 2, 3, 4, 5 miles that we need to be prepared for, and what are we doing to make sure we're ready for it?
Yeah, no, I love that. That's great. Somebody asked, yes, my head looks shiny. Chris, I know. I always keep it freshly shaved for the most part. I forgot a hat and it was too far away. So I was too lazy to walk up 3 flights of stairs to get it. So you guys got the bald head tonight. Somebody said, so to be honest, I don't know if there's companies out there that exist like you, but one of the question is what's the benefits of hiring you versus another, or, getting like a coaching call?
So the difference between a fractional CFO and a business coach, from my perspective, a business coach is usually coming in to teach you how to sell. I find that most business coaches are very focused on the sales side of the house. How do you grow your business by selling more product? They may touch on some operational efficiencies, maybe get a little bit into profitability here and there, but they're usually very, very focused on revenue. Whereas what we are doing, we are very focused on building the financial plan and structure to achieve the goals of the company. So you want to go from 5 million a year in revenue to 10 million a year in revenue. We are helping on the finance side of the house to make sure that you understand from a funding and cash flow perspective, how do we build the financial foundation of a business that can support $10 million a year in revenue so that we can go and become that size of company. We are working with you every single month towards achieving those goals and providing the level of financial clarity, insight, and direction that you need to be able to get there. We're not necessarily coming in and saying, hey, you need to tweak your sales strategy and change your marketing message to do this or that so that you can go out and sell more product. We're not sales experts. We are accounting and finance experts, and we are driving the financial strategy in the business.
Yeah, no, I love that. So people understand there's the accounting, but like he was saying, everybody wants to grow, but they're going to take your numbers and tell you what you have to do to be able to achieve said goals that you have for the company, which I love because I feel like most mid-size, I would say 10 million under companies out there have goals, but maybe don't necessarily understand how to meet said goals. It's more common than you would think. One thing about this podcast, I get to talk to a lot of people of all shapes and sizes. I mean, I've talked to the $100 million guys, the Gettles, and I've talked to small guys, and everything in between, and getting to learn things. And it's kind of crazy the difference between. So I think that's awesome knowing that something like you exists, because I do get a lot of emails that I think that I could refer to you because that, like I said, I didn't know something like this even existed. So that is, that's pretty awesome. So yeah, man, we're getting close to closing this out, man. An hour goes by so fast. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I guess, is there anything that you would like to close with? Anything that, maybe we didn't hit the topic or I didn't bring up?
Yeah, I would kind of touch on what you said about goals real quick. I'm a huge believer in goals. It's impossible to hit a target that doesn't exist. So you've got to understand very clearly what it is you're aiming for, or you're not giving yourself a chance to achieve it. It's like if I go to the grocery store without a list, I'm coming out with Oreos and chocolate milk. Whereas if my wife sends me to the grocery store with a list, I better darn well come back with what's on that list or I'm in trouble, because there's a specific expectation and someone holding me accountable to it. Businesses run the same way. You need goals. They need to be written. They need to be committed to, and someone holding you accountable to what you said you want to achieve. Otherwise, you just kind of flounder. And it's like going into the store to get healthy food and coming out with Oreos and groceries because there was no commitment.
Yeah, nope. I love that. It's, and even in business, I tell people in personal life, and to be honest, anybody that's ever been successful, you have to be consistent and detail oriented, how you create good habits in your life, whether that's why a lot of times people say that the ultimate wealthy people go to fitness is a big thing because nobody can do it for you. You have to stay consistent to do it every day, and you have to do it long term to see results. I use that as an example because it's the same way in your business. You have to have good habits and, be able to use that moving forward to help achieve said goals. And if you don't know what this data means or what you should be doing to meet said goals, that's where somebody like Luke is going to come in to be able to help you provide that clarity. And I think that that's awesome. Once again, I know I've said it 14 times. I didn't know something like you guys existed. So I think it's awesome that that you guys are out there, to be able to help. And also, like you said, that probably 5 million and up is probably like your sweet spot. But the fact that if somebody smaller called, you're not going to turn somebody away. It's just whether they actually need your services or not.
Yeah, and I always tell people I went into business to help business owners. That's not just some bullcrap marketing jargon of mine. I'm passionate about helping the small business community. So I take calls from people all the time who I know and they know they can't afford my services. I will still give them an hour of my time and let them pick my brain, ask me whatever you want to ask, get advice. I will tell you anything I can to help you just to be of service to the small business community, because that's something that's important to me. Totally willing to do that. So even if you think that would be valuable to you, let's talk.
That's awesome. I love that. And we've put his website, Cruzumi website in there several times. When the show comes out, I'll have his, LinkedIn and all that kind of stuff. Do you want people just go to the website? No, I mean, some people give me their email, but don't necessarily want me to give it out. Is that something you want me to put in the show notes?
Yeah, definitely. You can put my email out there, website, LinkedIn. That's all good. Email and LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to contact me. I'm very active on both of those, and you'll get a response pretty quick.
Awesome. Well, Luke, I want to thank you so much for coming on once again. To go back to the beginning, I appreciate you sticking with it and coming on. I learned a bunch in this podcast, so I'm glad that you were able to reschedule and come back on. I appreciate you taking the time, and thanks for what you do, man. I love the trades, and as a second generation guy, I like giving back, and I love seeing people that are doing this, especially from your experience. I think your story is pretty powerful. That not that you couldn't be good at what you do, but the fact that you have that backstory that you watched your family fail and, I guess it is failure, but I mean, make mistakes and drove you to make it so those don't happen. I just think that that's awesome and powerful. So, kudos to you and your team, man.
Yeah, thank you. And that's where the passion comes from. I don't want to see other families have to go through the painful bankruptcy experience that my family did. I promise you it's not fun. Please learn from those of us who have already gone through it so that you don't have to. Because I always tell people asking for help can feel embarrassing, but not nearly as embarrassing as going bankrupt.
No. It's, you cannot be afraid to ask for help. Trust me. I've been there, done that. You can't be afraid to ask for help. That's for sure. So, I'm going to go ahead and close this out, Luke. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And God forbid anything changes, please message me. Open door. You're more than welcome to come on anytime if something changes. And
Appreciate that.
yeah. And now that I know that you exist, for people that reach out to me, I will definitely be, sending you their information to be like, hey, this is somebody that could help you, because a lot of the questions they ask me, especially how you defined it, isn't really accounting questions. It's more strategy and stuff like that, which is right down your alley.
Yeah, 100%. Yep. I appreciate that.
Yep. So thank you so much. If you want to hang tight, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Well, man, thank you guys for being through here. I know some of you guys are, business owners, managers. Most of you guys are technicians, but I think this is awesome. And somebody who has run a business, I think that knowing that something like this exists is huge, because I have talked to so many people out there that are, they're kind of running in quicksand and they're doing good, but they don't know how to get to the next step. And just be able to have somebody like this in your corner is absolutely amazing. Obviously, nothing in life is free. You have to spend money to make money. That's just how it works. So I hope this helped. And anybody out there, if you're in need of Luke and his company, Cruzumi. So just so you know, it is spelled Cruzumi. So it's Cruzumi CFO and Advisory. And Luke is the CEO of that company. And if you guys would like to get in touch with them, I'll have all the things we just talked about in the show notes. If you're watching the show now in the live chat, their website is linked. I've put it, Rookie's put it, Jason's put it. So it's in there a couple of times where you can just click on it. All right. So I want to thank all of you for being here. I really, really appreciate it. Trying to get back on track. Hopefully you guys went and checked out last week's amazing audio podcast that came out with Partstown. That was another amazing show. So getting back on track with a series of good shows. We have a bunch of them coming up. So with that being said, let's close this thing out. Remember to make sure you like and share this podcast, whether it's audio or video. If you wouldn't mind leaving me a 5-star review, let's try to get those reviews back up so we can get this out to more and more people. And remember to follow me on all the social media sites to stay up to date on what's going on with me and the podcast. I do have some big news coming up here soon, obviously some career things and stuff like that. So we will see. I will check them for you, Sam, but you guys should be getting them. I'm surprised you don't have it, to be honest. So it should be there any day. But yeah, make sure you like me on all the social media sites to stay up to date. And a lot of the giveaways moving forward are going to be on different sites. But I'll still do them here, but even though I know the same people are constantly winning. So with that being said, that's it. No more things I have to say. Sorry, I look at your comments and it throws me out of whack. But yeah. I thought of something else I was going to say, but no, that's it. So, guys, remember, please be safe out there. We all have somebody to make it home to. I want you to make it home the same way you left. I don't care if you're driving. Make sure the breaker's turned off. Whatever it is, just please be safe. If it's still hot where you are, stay hydrated. Okay? Remember, the water you drink today is for like the next day or the day after. If you're already dehydrated, it's too late. All right. So make sure you put good things in your body. You get good things out. All right. Please take care of yourself. I do not want to hear that any of my friends out there, something happened to you. So please be safe. All right. Remember to do the little things. Set yourself apart from the next guy or girl. All right. I don't care. Like, if you're good at what you do, give back to somebody. Help mentor somebody. Trust me, that you mentoring somebody is going to make you better. You guys have heard me say it a million times. The words that I got from Mr. Jim Bergman is, you don't really know something till you have to teach somebody else. You're going to make yourself better by taking somebody under your wing and helping them grow. All right. It's going to be like kind of like a child. You're watching them grow in front of you. It's an awesome experience. That's why I love the training side. And like I said, it makes me better at the same time. Read a book, listen to a podcast, an online course, whatever you're doing, try to be the best version of you. I always say it. Nowadays, there's no such thing as staying the same. You're either growing and getting better, or you're getting worse and you're falling behind. All right. Even if it's not even work related, something in your personal life that you want to do it. All right. do it. Always be the best version of you. All right. And you guys know that if I can help you in any way, all you got to do is reach out to the show, either hvacuncensored@gmail.com or info@hvacuncensored.com. Normally give me like 24 hours, 48 at the most to get back to you. So many freaking emails come in. It's just hard to get back to them. My wife tries to help me, but some of the questions, she doesn't know how to answer them. She doesn't run HVAC business. She hasn't been in our world. So she does more of the clerical things as far as answering people. So yeah, email me. I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. You guys know that I can help as much as possible. And for all of you that are reaching out and you're giving me direct messages, Instagram is fine, but Facebook and some of those, I don't always see the notification. So if you're a friend of mine, you have my phone number, text me. If not, email is probably going to be the quickest response. So just so you know, some of these goofy things, TikTok messages, Facebook messages, Instagram messages, it's just hard to keep track of. So I try to check them as much as possible. So if I don't get back to you right away, just please know that that's why. All right, guys, be safe out there. Yeah, I love you mofos, man. Until next week, I'll talk with y'all later. All right, see ya.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored Podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored Podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.
Oh, yes, you are, Mr. Young. Have a good night, everybody.